So I'm calling this video Rubber Arms because I'm continuing really from the last one, Rubber Legs. Now this is quite advanced and difficult training. It's difficult to do and it's difficult to explain. But if you can get this, this is the real secret to elastic power. And this is the secret in martial arts, internal power in martial arts. And people have that, they think this is very mysterious, esoteric. How do you do it? What is being done? You cannot do this easily. It's not obvious. You see, what I'm trying to show here, my friend, is how to move the tendons and ligaments and stretch them. So there's actually a stretch in the joint. You're activating the ligaments in the joint because they're very elastic, very strong. So again, there's a danger here because I'm stretching the joint itself. You've got to do this very carefully, very slowly. But when you get it right, you're not using the muscles, you're using a natural elasticity in the tendons. You see, if I push his fingers back just at the right angle towards his forearm, what's happening is I'm not bending his elbow. He's able to hold his elbow bent quite easily if I can get the right angle. So I'm pushing his wrist, I'm flexing his wrist and trying to move it into the shoulder, avoiding the elbow. It's tricky to do. It's about getting the alignment. I've got to push along a correct line. So from his fingers, it goes all the way through to the back of his shoulder. And at the same time, I've got to try and activate his joint. See, I'm stretching his wrist, I'm flexing his fingers back, and I'm trying to stretch his shoulder. So his shoulder is going up and back and being stretched in the socket. So this is activating the shoulder ligaments, the scapula, and when you get it right, it will also move into the rib cage and into the spine. So I'm pushing on his arm, but he's not doing any work. I'm literally just stretching him. See, now I'm trying with a straight elbow. You see, if I flex his wrist back and push into his shoulder, and he's got to let his shoulder go back. See, his spine still goes forward, that shoulder forward. So hold his spine forward, hold his body weight forward. But as I push into his arm, it stretches his shoulder joint. I'm stretching the wrist and stretching the shoulder, but holding the elbow still. It's locked. So he has to do this by activating the tendons. See, in the elbow, you just create a twist and a counter twist in the joint so that the tendons just hold themselves easily, and then you take it into the wrist and the shoulder. So now I'm doing push-ups. Now, but easy push-ups, you see, on the knees, so I can control my body weight. But what I'm trying to do is hold my body weight, not with any effort, but with a stretch. You see, I'm dropping my body weight forward, so the wrist is stretching, and I'm dropping my shoulders up and back. I'm allowing my spine to sag down, so that my shoulders stretch back, and I'm stretching the wrist. Now what I've got to do is drop my body weight at the right angle, so as the further I go down, the more my wrist is stretching and the more my shoulder is stretching, but my elbow is not holding the weight so much. So when I get it right, now you see I can hold more body weight. I've got a bent arm, a half push-up, but I'm not working the same way as anyone else. I'm holding it in a stretch in my wrist and a stretch in my shoulder. That's going through into my rib cage. So my rib cage is actually now stretching. And I'm arching back, allowing my spine to sag down, but into its natural position. So I'm taking the force from my wrist, a stretch in my wrist, to a stretch in my shoulder, to a stretch in my rib cage and spine. It's elastic. So I'm not doing work, I'm not tensing anything. I'm allowing my body weight to sink down into a stretch. See, remember, the last one was the legs. Same thing, I'm holding my body weight by flexing the ankle and flexing the hip joint. See, the lower I go down, the more stretch I've got in the hip and the more stretch in the ankle, not the knee. See, I'm controlling the knee carefully, but there's no pressure on the knee. I've got to get this line from the heel of the foot through into the hips. So I'm now bouncing on the ankle, the Achilles tendon here, and I'm bouncing into the hip joint itself, not the knee. So this is, I can protect the knee is the weaker point, but I've got more elasticity, more power in the hips and the ankle. But I have to create it. This is tensegrity. And there's two ways of doing this. This one way is relaxed. So I'm just absorbing force, like I'm pushing my friend here, or like jumping up and down, I'm absorbing my body weight into a spring, elastic band. So now here, look at the shoulder. We're doing it a bit further. So he's got to bend and straighten the arm. But as I bend his arm, his shoulder goes up and forward. As I straighten his arm, his shoulder goes up and back. You see, so what I'm doing is creating a rotation in his shoulder, a stretch and a rotation. So as his arm bends, as I bend his arm, he goes in. He's got to do this, lift his shoulder up and forward. So it's activating the scapula. Then as I push, he's got to take the shoulder up and back and pull down with the scapula. So now what you're doing, or what I'm doing, is creating a movement in the shoulder joint, activating the ligaments and tendons in the shoulder, and using that to bend the arm. So look, I'm pivoting the shoulder. A big movement. Shoulder goes up and forward, but my arm is bending backwards. So it's opposite. Then when my arm goes forward, my shoulder goes up and back. Away, it's opposite. This is why it's tricky to do. It's tricky to explain. But you can see the motion here. This is what is called a sliding pivot. But now you see, if I want to generate force, I've created this spring in my joints. So from this rotation up and forward, I've activated the scapula and the rib cage. Now he's pushing me. So as he pushes me, I'm absorbing it all the way into a twist in my shoulder, which is going into the scapula, going into the rib cage. I'm not doing any work. I'm just dropping my body weight forward. Now I can push him back, you see, as he pushes into me. So I've created this elastic stretch in the ligaments, and then I can activate them, squeeze them, and bounce back. So there's two aspects to this. One is absorbing the force, letting your joints stretch. And the other one is then activating tension, squeezing the joints, rebounding that stretch. So once more again here with some push-ups. I'm trying to show you. So first here, lock out the arms straight, and my fingers are twisted slightly out. Now with a locked out elbow, I'm dropping down, so my shoulders go up and back, but I'm dropping my body weight forward. So now as my shoulders go over the hands, there's more tension, more stretch in the wrist, and it's harder to do. You're now taking more body weight. Now if you know calisthenics, this is moving towards the planche, where you can support your whole body weight like this. But for me here, this is just about activating the ligaments, the tendons. See the stretch in the shoulders, elbows locked out, and I'm flexing my wrist and my fingers. I can feel a very strong stretch in the wrist itself. So this is dangerous. You've got to be careful. You're strengthening the ligaments in the joint slowly and carefully, and you can injure them easily because you're stretching them with body weight. Now here, look, with bent arms, look at the wrist. My fingers are twisted out. So now when I bend my elbow, I'm also twisting my elbow out to the side. And what I'm doing is creating a twist in the wrist. So if you look at it carefully now, my fingers are out. As I bend my elbows, they go out. My elbow goes out away from the wrist. So down my forearm is a stretch. I can feel a twist in my wrist. Then I drop my body weight into it. But I take it into the shoulders. You see, I'm letting my spine sag down. Carefully, I'm still holding the belly in a little bit, pulling the navel towards the spine, but letting my body weight drop forward and trying to take it away from the elbow and into the wrist and the shoulder stretch. I've got an elastic bounce. You see, this is why I'm bouncing. I can feel it. I'm controlling it very carefully, but they are bounced up. Once you get good at this and your tendons become strong, your tendons become flexible, it's more powerful than the muscles. This is the internal power of martial arts. This is what they're all doing. But it's hard to explain it, and I'm trying to explain the fundamental principles in a scientific way, and it will apply to all martial arts. See here now, locked out straight arm. So I've got my structure, my stance, I'm dropping my body weight forward, maintaining an S-curve in the spine, pushing forward here from the lower belly, the back, the hips. And here the shoulders go up and back. I've got a stretch in my shoulders, holding the belly in. So now as I'm pushing, I'm absorbing into the wrist, into the shoulder, into the spine. And now I'm starting to rebound through the structure. So from the foot, goes to the hip, to the spine, to the shoulder, well, to the rib cage. Here I've got to activate the back muscles, the scapula. Then it goes into the elbow and then into the wrist. So I'm creating this elasticity bounce through all my tendons and ligaments. But the structure has got to be just right. You've got to get the bones right. hold it correctly, and then feel the stretch, the bounce go through the structure, through the ligaments and tendons. And remember, 2 ways of doing this is relaxed. You're just allowing them to stretch so you can absorb force. See, now if I'm pushing into him, first of all, he's got to absorb it. So he's got to bring his body weight forward, sinking his body weight into his front leg. Otherwise, he's going to move backwards. You see, so you've got to plant yourself in the right position, adjust your center of gravity. But now, as I push into him, he's maintaining that center of gravity. He's got to hold the spine correct. But as I push carefully, he's taking that stretch into the shoulder, into the scapula, into the rib cage. So between his hips here, his hips go forward, but his shoulder is going back. There's a bounce and elasticity through the spine as I'm pushing into him. Now when he feels it, he can now start to shift his body weight further forward into that structure and in through the spine, through the shoulder, and into me, the opponent. So now we're doing a bigger movement. This is where we've got to get this rotation in the shoulder. But here there will be much more power. It's a greater mobility of the shoulder joint. So if you can activate the tendons, see now here his shoulder's got to go forward, up and forward as I push his arm back. We're creating a pivot, a leverage in the tendons and the scapula. So he's getting a massive stretch. He will feel a massive stretch in his shoulder. So you've got to be careful. And it's a bounce, an elastic bounce. Then as I relax a little bit and he rebounds and he can push back. So I hope this made sense. This is a tricky one. And be careful. I'm just showing this. You can hurt yourself trying to do this. But I hope this made sense. Please do leave me any questions or comments, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.